Construction Department Site Prep. Site prep for flower beds. If there is existing landscaping, remove all unwanted plants and mulch, and any poor soil. Existing sod must be degrassed with sod cutter unless otherwise instructed. After sod cutting, use shovels to remove any other remaining weeds or vegetation. Study this diagram for a moment, then we will review each concept step by step. When adding soil mix, finished height should be 6 to 12 inches. Small and narrow beds will be built lower. Wider and larger beds will be built higher. Bed mound is not to appear like a buried basketball or a peak. If it's too steep, the soil will erode over time. Bed mound should appear more like a speed bump or turtle shell. Refrain from building soil up along edges. Edges need to remain exposed down to bare native soil, leaving 3 inches to 4 inches for mulch to tuck behind the edge. Rock beds along the house. Rock beds can be no less than 8 inches wide. In all rock beds, there must be fabric beneath the rocks, and rocks must be at least 3 inches deep. If no gutters are present, the rock bed should extend a minimum of 6 inches behind the drip line of the roof. Finished elevation of top rocks must be at least 2 inches below the bottom of the weep holes in all areas. This means the finished soil prep must be 5 to 6 inches below the foundation before putting down the fabric. If no pipe is installed, rock beds must have outflow points cut through the flower beds no more than 30 feet apart and at corners if possible. Notice the curve in the edging to accommodate water flow. When laying out the rock bed, make sure to modify borders using an angle rather than 90 degrees to catch water that may pour out further than the drip line due to a valley in the roof line. Study this diagram one more time to see all of the concepts put together. Steel edging. Always round off corners on steel edging as to not leave sharp corners. 5 stakes should be installed on every 20-foot piece of steel border. 2 stakes must be used at every steel border overlap. The overlap must be 12 inches to 18 inches, and the stakes must be 2 inches in from each end of the steel. Curved bed edges must be natural and flowing. It's better to have fewer large sweeping curves rather than multiple small bumpy curves. See the difference? Finally, ensure there are no sections with straight lines. Do you see the difference? Do you see the straight line in this picture? Notice the straight line is right here. As compared to this, our original picture. When we do install straight lines, the lines must be perfectly straight. You may have to use more stakes than usual to keep kinks out, and you may have to recheck and add more stakes after adding soil and rocks. Do you see the difference? Do you see the line that's not straight in this picture? As compared to this, our original picture. Four-inch steel borders must be installed with 3 inches above soil and 1 inch buried in the soil, unless sod will be laid against the border. If sod will be laid, all 4 inch of border can be left above the current grade. The 1 inch of soil that comes with the sod will give us our 1 inch of buried border. 6-inch steel border must be installed with 4 inches above the soil and 2 inches buried in the soil, unless the sod will be laid against the border. If sod will be laid, all 4 inches of border can be left above current grade. The 1 inch of soil that comes with the sod will give us our final 2 inches of buried border. Natural edges. For natural edges, a 3-inch trench must be dug for mulch to tuck behind. If new sod will be laid, then it's not necessary to dig a trench. Leaving a few inches between sod and mulch will leave a lip for the mulch. Sod. Sod installation must begin with the area degrassed by sod cutter unless otherwise instructed. When doing final prep for sod installation, all areas where sod will meet walkways or driveways, soil level must be 1 inch lower than hard surfaces, and all soil must be raked smooth with no clumps, holes, dips, etc. Screened topsoil may be used if ground is too hard or unworkable for any reason, or if additional soil is needed to establish grade. Sod must be laid in a staggered manner so that seams do not line up, and don't leave any gaps, flaps, or overlaps. On slopes, 2 sod staples must be used on every piece of sod on every other row. The stagger of the pieces should be perpendicular to the direction of the slope, so that water doesn't travel downhill through the spaces between the pieces. Once sod is installed, walk the areas and feel for lumps or holes beneath your feet. Pull the piece up and either add or remove soil to make it level. After final leveling has been done, lightly water sod, then roll with water-filled roller. Once sod is rolled, initial watering must be immediate and excessive. Freshly watered sod should not be walked on, as footprints in wet soil will be permanent. Newly installed sod should have minimal traffic and heavy watering for 2 weeks, and should not be mowed for 3 to 4 weeks.